Hello and welcome back to yet another edition of the Bibbs Corner podcast with Mike Bibbins. This is episode 36 and week 3 of my conversations with Mavs fans. This may actually be the last one for a while. We'll see. I have some people kind of lined up, but I might go a different route as far as the conversation. So, this third one is actually an interesting guest. At the Mr. Douglas, Corey. Corey is actually one of the few people that I've met off of Mavs Twitter in person. We went to a game. We hit up Dave and Buster's. We played the basketball game. I think I won a game. He won a game. So we might need to get a rubber match going sometime in the future. And then he also caught me making an embarrassing purchase at the game. Might get that story another day. But I was glad to be able to reach out to Corey. It just kind of worked out that we both kind of started our own shows this year with his YouTube channel. Kicking off, he'll say you'll get that in a minute in January. And then with my podcast, technically starting in February, but not really getting consistent until July here. And so we get into some of that, and then we get into recapping some of the stuff we talked about on his podcast or on his show a few weeks ago before we get into some fun stuff. And then the last 15 minutes of the show is actually answering some fan questions, and then he hit me with one that he got. So I hope you guys enjoy these conversations. I do have a few people interested in doing one, so we'll see. I'm actually going out of town this weekend, so the whole process of setting up a guest and all that, on top of, like, I'm in grad school right now, so I may take a break from having a guest next week, but we'll see. In the meantime, enjoy this episode with Corey. I'll probably have him back. I feel like I want to do something special where I bring a lot of people on for something at some point down the line, and he definitely will be at the top of that list. So we had a great conversation, and I'm going to shut up now and let you guys enjoy that. Hello and welcome back to yet another edition of the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins, at Bibbs Corner for all the sports stuff. And today's our third conversation with a Mavs fan, episode 36. And today I have none other than Corey Douglas on the show at, is it the Mr. Douglas?
Yes, the Mr. Douglas.
At the
Two
Mr.
S's.
Douglas. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you giving me the time to come on your podcast and have a little conversation with you.
No, definitely. I appreciate you bringing me on yours a few weeks ago, and to talk about the playoffs coming up and some bubble topics, and we're going to actually revisit some of those in a minute. But for a second, why don't you go ahead and tell people about what you do and how things are going with your show so far?
Okay, so really I have the YouTube show, the Mr. Douglas Sports Show. Like I said, it's on YouTube, and really the idea came from, I've been doing writing for Dallas Sports Fanatic for 3 years. I started out just doing strictly Cowboys, and then I started venturing out to Rangers, Mavs, and then SMU football. But then I was scrolling on Facebook one day, and I saw a guy on my feed, and he was just doing his own little 10 to 15 minute NBA show. And I already had the idea that I wanted to venture out more than just DFW sports, which is what I've been doing for the last 3 years. So I felt like this gave me the platform to kind of venture out and tackle some of the topics that I want to tackle and give my own platform, a chance to kind of flourish. So I definitely started the Mr. Douglas Sports Show, and that's kind of how that came about. But it was just scrolling through Facebook, saw it, and I was like, I can do this. So then I just started it up in January.
Awesome. So you said you did start in January of this year. And it's funny because, my story is very similar. I almost went the YouTube route as well. where, you know, you see somebody else doing this thing. And for me, it was a news show. I think it was like the Young Turks. I watched their news show on YouTube, and like now they have a full TV network with a sports network as well. And I was like, man, I would love to have like a YouTube sports show. I ended up starting out with writing and now with the podcast, but you jumped straight to video. Was there a reason you chose going the video route versus going podcast route?
Honestly, not really. I really just saw him doing because he was on video, and really, like, I'm not gonna throw any shade or anything, but his kind of stuff was kind of lacking. I was like, man, I can do this and make it 10 times better. So it was really just the first thing I saw, and I was like, why not just start a YouTube channel? Because I've been doing something in the sports area for a while now, so I
Right.
kind of wanted to get something more consistent. So I'm still working on the consistency a little bit, but there's not really a rhyme or reason why I went video. It was just I saw it, and then I was like, I'll just do it just like that. Create a YouTube channel, and I'm still trying to build it up. And like I said, I'm working on that consistency, and I'm getting better with it. Now I think I have a routine down. I record on Tuesdays after the NFL, and then drop it on Wednesdays. So definitely be checking that out.
Awesome. And where can the people find you if they're going into YouTube search bar? What do they need to type in?
Yeah, so I don't have my subscribers up yet, so I don't have my own kind of link to it. But if you search the Mr. Douglas on YouTube, it should pull up. I'm typically one of the first ones, and then at this point, I have enough videos so where I'm kind of in the algorithm, I think is what they call it. So it should come up.
Awesome, awesome. And I am one of your subscribers right now, so early adopter when it starts blowing up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm working on getting it out there, and like I said, consistency is the key. And I know when I was actually getting into it, they always say like the hardest thing is getting started,
Right.
but once you get started, you're in it, and you feel kind of obligated to record or post something out. So that's kind of the stage I'm in right now.
Exactly. And all it takes is like one video blowing up for
Right.
everything to take off, and then all your past content gets old residual views, etc., so forth. So
Exactly.
definitely, I'm pulling for everybody out there that's out here grinding in the beginning stages, because I started this year myself. So
Yeah, and it's important that this is a community of us that are doing this. So I think supporting each other is important.
definitely, and I definitely want to try to do my part to do that. Anytime somebody shares a link with me or something on Twitter, I'll definitely quick to retweet it. I'll watch it, do whatever I got to do too, but I'll immediately send that retweet out just to spread the love.
Yes, sir.
And now, so with that all out the way, we had some big news come in today. Luka Doncic named first team All NBA. I personally was not surprised. Were you?
No, not at all. I would have been mad if he wasn't first team All NBA, honestly.
Exactly. Like I can't think of a single person I would want who I could justify being ahead of him.
No, and it's too easy. And I think one thing that I've appreciated through this 2 years of Luka that we've gotten so far is like obviously we went from Dirk to Luka, but I felt like it took so many years for Dirk to get the kind of love that Luka is getting at this point.
Right.
So now for him to be getting love from the very jump, and it's just important for me just having like that's our own guy, like that's Dallas DFW's own. So I think it's important to make sure that he's getting the love and just the support that we can show him, and hopefully he stays. And that comes with building a team around him.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I kind of feel the same way about the success and the respect that Nikola Jokic gets. Like it feels
Exactly.
like Dirk sacrificed being called soft and etc. for so many years, so that now a guy like Jokic can come in, and I think he was getting MVP votes. Like I feel like he finished top 3, top 5 in MVP voting like a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
So like that never would have happened without Dirk.
Yeah, it took that championship to kind of unlock all the doors for the following Europeans to come over and really get the respect that they rightfully deserve.
But right, like you even look at Pau Gasol, he's still disrespected to this day for all the things that he's done.
Exactly.
And the fact that Lakers team was struggling for a while before he got there.
Yeah, I mean, it had Kobe asking out of LA. So, everybody talks about Kobe, oh, he's loyal. But he wanted out of LA before Pau Gasol came and kind of righted the ship, so to speak.
Exactly. People forget about that. Um, so awesome. So that's out of the way. Luka first team All NBA. I agree. I couldn't justify him being lower. I also think this solidifies he's probably going to finish fourth or fifth in MVP voting. You agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and if he wouldn't have got hurt and we could have maybe got a higher seed in the playoffs, I think it could even been, a real conversation that we're having, still today.
No, definitely, definitely. And the way the Clippers just went out, which we'll probably
Love
get
it.
into in this next section here. But the way the Clippers went out, man, it makes you just. I mean, I feel like we probably all were feeling this way anyway. That KP getting hurt kind of cost us a chance at maybe making a deep run. But when you see how the Clippers went out, it just makes you like we know we could have beat Denver. And
Exactly, exactly. And the Clippers, they are like the most insufferable bunch of losers I've ever seen before they've won anything. It's incredible how cocky they were throughout this entire time, just throughout the entire bubble process.
yeah,
And then, they come out last night with a file full of excuses. Oh, we didn't have enough time together, or they're winded. Paul George said it wasn't championship or bust. I mean, come on, man. Like they just get more unlikable by every comment you see from them.
right. And we're actually there's when we get to the a portion later, I gotta address some things that I've said in the past. I need to make some amends. Um, but yeah, I mean, the only person I really was cheering for on that team was Kawhi. But when you watch how they went out and how they were talking and stuff, like I realized like they've been doing this the whole playoffs. Like every time they lost to us, there was an excuse.
Yep.
It was never we made a mistake or they got us and whatever. It was always, well, we could have done this, we could have done that. We'll fix it the next game. Like it was a very indifferent, no respect for the competition type of situation.
Yeah, and I feel like Paul George was the ringleader of
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I don't remember what game it was after, but it was after one of the games he struggled in, which was, majority of the 6 games that we played. But, he was like, it's not like they're playing good defense on me or anything. I'm just missing shots.
Right.
And then after he had that one good game, he goes, oh, I was in a dark place. And, he went that route of it, which I'm not buying that. I'm sorry. I know
Yeah.
mental health is a big thing right now in the world, and it's important. And I'm not downplaying that part of it, but come on, man.
Right.
I,
And so when he said that, it kind of put me in a position where I don't want to disrespect, like you said, the mental health aspect of it, but I just had to make sure I just focused on the basketball. Like I can't touch that. I'm gonna if you feel like you're in a dark place, you're struggling with some stuff, okay, but I'm still gonna call you trash on the court if you miss a shot.
right, you're still pandemic P in my book.
Right, you didn't leave because you were dealing with stuff. So if you're on the court, I'm gonna call you out. And in that last game when Kawhi struggled too, and really that whole Nugget series, and we did get a question about that, so we'll get to talk about that in depth. But I can't even defend Kawhi with how he went out. He kind of disappointed me the whole series, really.
Yeah, the fourth quarter stats for Kawhi this series were just not very Kawhi like, it's almost like he stooped down to the Clippers level. And I know, and I was thinking about this earlier actually because I just wonder how fed up Kawhi was having to deal with that.
Mm,
Because when I listened to his post game comments last night, there was a lot of, oh, we need to be smarter. We need to do this. Our IQ is not good enough. We just have to be better in the IQ department.
yeah.
And it just made me think like Kawhi really is playing with a bunch of idiots and he's just not happy with it.
But that's what happens when you make your own bed, when you play GM as a player, right? We've seen this before. So you go from a place like San Antonio with a well-oiled machine where you just got to come in, clock in, do your job. Then you end up in Toronto with a coach who's just got a bunch of young, scrappy guys that are ready to fight. You just got to lead them. And now you go to LA and you got all these egos and they're special. You got 2 6 men of the year candidates who, again, are smelling themselves, one in a contract year. Paul George, we know his history. And like Kawhi wants to just come in, punch in, and show up and do his job. And so maybe he is doing his job, but now these other guys are causing problems. Like they're taking long lunch breaks and not showing up when their shift is when it's time for their shift, stuff like that. Now it's falling back on him.
Exactly. He's coming from those good cultures, like you mentioned, with San Antonio and Toronto. So coming to the Clippers, who have never been known to have a good culture, it's kind of different. Like you say, he made his bed, and now he's laying in it. And I just wonder how that's going to change things maybe down the road when, I think he can opt out after next year. I
So
think there's
yeah,
going to be some decisions made.
yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And like you said, if it is in a couple years, like LeBron might be 37, 8 by that time.
Yep.
Who knows? Who knows? But I'm not going to think about the Lakers building another dynasty right now. Um, we want to get
Yeah,
back to.
they've had enough.
I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them too. Um, so in your episode of your show where I made the appearance, you made us do a list of the top 5 people under the most pressure. And so I pulled up your list of names. I think we pretty much had the same guys, except I had Embiid on my list. And I don't feel like talking about Joel Embiid today. So we'll start with your list. I'm going to go from your number 5 and tell me how you think that pressure, how they either they lived up to it or they didn't live up to the pressure or to the expectations, and then what you think it means for them going forward. So at 5, you had Giannis and Middleton as a double pack. And so, how do you feel that the way the playoffs played out? How do you feel that that's going to affect them going forward?
So as far as they didn't handle the pressure well, obviously they lost in the second round to Miami pretty easily, and of course Giannis ended up getting hurt in the series. But I will say I got a lot of respect for Middleton in games 4 and 5. Game 4, after Giannis got hurt, he stepped up and willed them to that game 5 situation.
Right.
And obviously at that point they weren't going to beat the Heat. They weren't going to win 4 in a row at that point. But I did earn a little bit of respect for him. But I think as far as what it means for the future, I think Giannis is going to have a real decision to make. He's already met with the Bucks ownership, and they've assured him they're willing to spend the money. But I think he's going to give the Bucks one last chance, and then I think after next year, depending on how the season goes, I think there's a real, I think there's a real chance he could leave Milwaukee. I'm not really sure what destination. I've seen Miami, Toronto, Golden State. Dallas is never mentioned for some odd reason. I know the relationship he has with Donnie Nelson, and they should have drafted him, but we won't go down that path right now. But yeah, I think the Bucks didn't handle it well, but now it puts the Bucks in a situation where they are really going to have to really buck up and put a team around him that can really compete for a title, or they could be looking at the last year of Giannis next year.
You have any issues with the way Giannis played in the series?
Yeah, so I think this comes down to with Giannis, I think he is limited when it comes to playoff series. Like, of course, the regular season 30-point games, the triple doubles, the incredible fast break dunks that he puts on. But when you actually slow the game down, force them to play in a half court offense, I think that's where you see kind of the limit in his game right now. He hasn't evolved as a shooter to this point
Right.
where he can overcome that sort of thing. So when you go against a great coach like he did last year with Nick Nurse, and then this year with Eric Spoelstra, you're going to see flaws from his game. So I don't really think it's anything that, I mean, he obviously controls it because he can get better as a player, but
Right.
I don't think it's something that's unexpected at this point.
Yeah. So for me, I think I realized that he kind of ended up in a James Harden type situation. And this is before James had Chris Paul, and now this year with Westbrook, where everything runs through him. And unlike James Harden, he doesn't have any jump shot at all. To
Right.
where, like, when Harden gets cut off or whatever, he can sometimes get away with just launching jump shots and still be somewhat effective, or at least fill up the stat sheet a little bit. But Giannis, like, once they're walling him off and his teammates can't hit shots, none of his teammates can create, like, he's limited. Like, he can't carry the team in that way. So they need another creator with him. He needs to be with another guy that can create off the bounce and cause havoc and set him up to score. Or he needs to develop a ridiculous post game.
Right.
He
Because
can't just get away with being athletic and long.
and just going downhill and just kind of doing the Euro step around people, that's not going to work when there's a wall up there. So and these like I said, these smart teams, they game plan for that. Like they
Right.
know his weaknesses, and when you have a a chance to go for a 2-week period and focus on one thing. And like you said, they don't really have a whole bunch around him to really game plan for. It makes it tough for him.
Yeah. So that, like you said, it is going to be interesting. I really don't want him to leave. Because I know, how it works with small markets. Like, they may never recover from that for a decade longer.
Right.
So I don't want him to leave, but I would imagine they're going to have to make a huge move to get somebody like a Chris Paul, which has been mentioned several times, up there with him without killing themselves, like giving away huge assets, long term or in the short term, where they need to keep Middleton basically at the very least and actually make a run next year, or it's going to be ugly.
Now, I do want to touch on that about adding a piece, and I saw your tweet about Westbrook the other day. Now, was that just throwing it out there, just floating it to see the
No.
reactions, or was that something that you think they should do?
So no, that was definitely I was messing with people. It
Okay.
was alluding to the way Cleveland handled LeBron the first time around, where they just made a really
Uh,
desperate move, and it put them in a worse situation when LeBron left.
okay. All right. I thought that's where the direction you were going, but I just had to clarify on this platform.
No, definitely, I had to mess. I like doing that from time to time, and if people go, "Oh, Bibbs, you're effing crazy," blah blah blah. No, but I just take it like whatever, man. Like
Yeah, you had
if
another one that kind of got the people riled up, and I responded to it, but I forgot what exactly it was. But yeah, I know when Bibbs is trying to rile people up, and I just go and look at the comments immediately and
it's
kind
too
of see.
easy.
Yeah, especially with Mavs fans, they get real kind of tight about it.
Oh man, I can't remember what it was too either, but I remember the situation. I think I did it without thinking, and then came back and had like 50 comments or something. I was like,
Yep,
crap.
and it
All right.
sparked something.
So next on the list, and this probably won't take as long. Dame Dolly had at number 4, so I had him on my list as well. And personally, I thought, they came out and won game 1. I was happy with it. He got hurt, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. So how did you feel about Dame and his expectations and whether or not he lived up to them?
Yeah, I think like you said, they won game 1, and I think after that they just ran out of gas. And I think the Lakers have shown in that series, and then after losing game 1 to the Rockets, um, that really game 1 is really just a feel out game. So I don't
Yeah,
know if I mean, I don't know what else Portland could have really done. I mean, they had a season just destroyed by injuries. So, and like I said, they had to do so much fighting in the bubble to even get to that point to make the playoffs. So I
right.
think they just ran out of gas. So I don't really look at Dame any other way. I still think he's a really good player. I don't know if I put him on that superstar status. I mean, that might cause some ruckus, but I don't think he's quite a superstar, but he's a really good player.
Yeah, it's I love him, but it's like when you see how things played out with the Laker game, and then you're reminded of how things played out with the Pelicans a couple years ago, and then even the prior year against the Nuggets, he kind of faded. McCollum kind of carried them.
Right.
Like, he's a small guy, and eventually in a long series, people are going to somewhat figure that out. His limitations, and extending his range helps, but it also means he's using his legs more to get those shots up, his arms. Like, in this bubble situation, it just wasn't set up for him to go on a long tear in the playoffs.
No, and I think that's it's kind of why he got hurt. Honestly, he put so
Yeah,
much onus on getting those 8 seeding games, and he just couldn't do anymore. His body couldn't take it anymore.
yeah, and it was he. I mean, he literally carried the team all year. Like, when it was down to him and a bunch of G League guys for a while there, and he was scoring like 50 a game. Like, a person can only do so much. So I'm hoping they get healthy in the offseason. I expect them to actually make some splashy moves as well. And you know what? I'm looking forward to them coming back next year and fighting for a top 4 spot in the West.
Yeah, the West is going to be really interesting next year because I think OKC is going to be out, but I mean Golden State is probably going to be right back in, and it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, there's probably 12 teams you can argue could or
Yeah,
should be playoff teams
yeah.
at least. So I think it'll come down to health, personally. So speaking of the West, Next on that list, we had Pandemic P.
And that name says it all. He didn't handle the
This,
pressure at all. He went out sad, just excuses everywhere. But yeah, so yeah, we don't even have to spend too much time on that because he definitely shrunk.
and he was he on my list? He was not on my list. But yeah, he was one of the more unimpressive people in the bubble. So that was ugly. So definitely, Kawhi's probably looking at him a certain type of way right now.
Yeah, he's probably trying to get him up out of there.
Number 2 on your list, then. Moving on, James Harden. Thoughts?
So he did it once again. He seems to do this every postseason. And they thought because they had a 4 month break, he would come in fresher and be able to perform. Nope, same James Harden. He's just another one of those players. I have a list of guys where they just won't win as the number 1 or 2 option. He's on that list,
Wow.
and his sidekick Westbrook is on that list as well. It's just not going to work out for him. So I didn't see anything I wasn't expecting to see. So yeah, it's just James Harden in a nutshell.
The only thing I saw that I wasn't expecting to see was them actually winning that game 7 against the Thunder. Like at that point, I was expecting them to kind of give up, but it was actually his defense that saved him. And
And I hated that game
I
for
don't
that
know.
very reason. I hated that game because he had an awful game, but
Oh yeah,
but Lou Dort was. I mean, he was cooking, and then
what do you have, like
yeah,
30
30.
something?
Yep. So yeah, that I hated that
Man,
game that he made the defensive play to send them to the second round.
oh man, and he knew he had to do it though.
Yeah, and that's why he was so fired up
Like
about it after. He was.
you could see, yeah, I've never seen him that excited. Like I can't remember the last time he was that excited. Maybe in Oklahoma City at some point, but he was so hype about winning that game, like so relieved. Like you could tell that he knew that if he lost that game, like
It was
it
gonna
was
be all him.
he was he was gonna be hearing it like the Clippers heard it last night.
Facts.
Speaking of which, the person that put James Harden out, or the team that put James Harden out, they are still rolling. So AD was at the top of both of our lists. How are you feeling about AD's performance thus far?
I've actually been quite impressed. I know on my show we talked about how the lights are brighter playing for the Lakers in the playoffs, and I think he's actually handled it well. I think both him and LeBron have to score 30 plus a game most nights for them to win, and they've pretty much
Right.
done just that. And yeah, I've been impressed. I mean, I can't even knock AD for this postseason run.
I land somewhere in the middle on it because I feel like he should be doing more of the heavy lifting. Um, he's most people think he's top 1, 2, 3 in the league, and I mean LeBron, he hadn't been scoring like this all year.
Yeah,
Uh, so I feel like he's taking on more than he should have to, but at the same time, the two teams they played, the Blazers and the Rockets, didn't really have any sort of. They couldn't do anything with LeBron. Neither team didn't have the type of guys that you need on your team to deal with a LeBron. However, the Nuggets kind of do. And so this series, I think this series coming up is going to really it's going to determine how I feel about AD, regardless of what happens after that, because Jokic is not a defender, people are going to say, but his size and weight can be a problem for LeBron driving to the hole. And Jeremy Grant has been,
he's
I
he's
was
earning the
very
bag.
impressed with what he did with Kawhi. Oh, yeah. And so I was very impressed with what he did against Kawhi in the last series. Did you notice
One thing I
any of
noticed
that?
about the Nuggets, it was the team defense. So like every
Right.
time Kawhi would get to his little mid range that he loves so much, Jokic was right there with his big body, just cutting him off almost and making him take a contested shot because the primary defender
Exactly.
was already up into his body, so he's not getting that clean look that he got against us after stiffing arming whoever was guarding him in our series. But I think
Right.
the overall team defense for the Nuggets is good. And I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on guys like KCP, Danny Green, Rondo, Caruso, and Kuzma, and guys like that to really have to step up and actually make shots this series. Because, like I said, the team defense is they're not going to get the same looks they got against Portland and against Houston.
Exactly. They fight, they scrap, and like every time Kawhi was coming inside for a shot of any sort, there were 2, 3 hands on it. There was a guy reaching in to try to steal the ball. Jeremy Grant is with him, and then Jokic is coming over to also contest. So I'm excited to see this series again. AD is a matchup nightmare for pretty much every team, maybe except the Bucks because Giannis can kind of deal with them to a certain extent, but. It's going to be interesting to me. I'm pulling for the Nuggets, obviously, but like you said, I think the other guys, the ancillary pieces, are going to have to do a lot in that Nuggets series. And I don't think it can be Rondo
Yeah, and I
again.
think it's so interesting because, or one thing I enjoy just watching good defense because we don't really get a whole lot of that in Dallas is every time Kawhi even went to the basket, if he didn't settle for the mid range, he tried to go lay it up and dunk. Most of the time, he wasn't able to get that off cleanly. I mean, there was deflections, like you said, they were getting their hands involved, and they were making a lot of plays on the ball. So yeah, like it's gonna be tough for LeBron to get easy looks, and he's gonna have to fight for all his looks.
No, definitely. And again, we kind of have already done it, but we're going to get into these conference finals in just a second. I did want to move to one other topic, and this is where I need to start making some amends. So on your show, once again, and again, people go the Mr. Douglas sports show on YouTube, and you can find that episode. But on your show, you brought up the Rick Carlisle being questioned as a coach, and does he need to be replaced? Um, I slightly, somewhat still feel it, but doubt it's going to happen. All on board with Carlisle being shipped up out of here and letting Jamal Mosley take over the team. And it was because of what we saw in the regular season, looking like Rick Carlisle was phoning it in, et cetera, and so forth. Now, on your show, you defended him and said that maybe he was waiting until the playoffs to really coach, and it seemed like that was the case. So, how do you feel about how things played out in the playoffs, with as far as Carlisle is concerned? Did you see what you needed to see? Like you said, you were waiting to see what he did in the playoffs. Did you see what you needed to see?
Yeah, so I'm still a guy that supports Carlisle, and I think the primary reason why I still defend Carlisle at this point is because a lot obviously he won the championship almost 10 years ago, so we're not really talking about that anymore, and you shouldn't talk about that anymore. But
Right.
in between that championship run and up until now that we have Luka, how many teams has he really had to work with that are genuine contenders that can really fight for anything that's worth in the playoffs? I mean, they haven't had anything. And to me, I feel
Right.
like Carlisle, when he gets the opportunity to sit down, focus on one team for 2 weeks, there's not many guys better than him in the league.
Mm,
So when I look at other coaches around the league, like for instance, for Doc, he's had all the talent in the world, hasn't really sniffed a conference finals. I don't want that. I don't want Doc Rivers. I think he's overrated himself. But when I look at Carlisle, I just think he put the pieces around him and let him work. But if he doesn't have the pieces, which we haven't had most of the time, I mean, you're going to become frustrated with the rotations. But it's like, who else is he going to play on some of these teams? Like, you want him to play Justin Jackson, um, and and I will say, like, what was it? One game against the Rockets, the first game of the bubble. It was the Trey Burke Seth Curry thing, where it seems like he goes to the opposite guy of who's hot at the end of the games.
right.
So that is one knock I have on him. But overall, as a coach, get him the players and just let him get out the way and watch him work. And I think we saw that in the Clipper series. And now the same Mavs fans that we're talking about, oh, we need to fire him and we have no shot against the Clippers, were the same ones saying, oh man, if KP was healthy, we would have won that series. Why? Why would we have won that series besides Luka's brilliance? It's Carlisle. So I'm still on the Carlisle boat, and You can either get on or get off. I don't care. Carlisle's my guy, and I'm going to defend him until I see something that warrants being fired.
And the thing for me is funny because, like you said, he hadn't had a lot to work with, and it was coming like for the past year or two, maybe. I was thinking, if we're going to take a couple years to get to a point where we can contend, and he has a chance to coach a team that's ready right now, that we would be holding him back from that type of thing. But now it looks like we may be a piece away from being able to compete right now. So it's whatever at this point. I do want Mosley or Silas to end up with some jobs, and there's plenty out there right now. But it doesn't like it's going to be Dallas. And, at this point, I'm kind of fine
And I do want to just add one more thing is that if we do move on from Carlisle, I definitely want it to be one of those coaches that hasn't got the opportunity yet, because it doesn't make sense to keep recycling these coaches. So, yeah, if the Mavs do decide to move in that direction, I definitely want it to be a coach that hasn't, a younger coach that hasn't gotten that opportunity yet. So that's the only way I would be okay with that.
And I think that was part of my thing, too, is that I want to see a young person, a new person that who is not going to come in with a name where their history. And most likely, if you're coming into a coaching job from another one, that means you failed somewhere else.
Exactly.
And I'd rather start it with a clean slate. And obviously, I don't think Carlisle's going to ride out the entire Luka time. So I doubt the guys that we have now are going to be around. But I hope it is like a handing over the reins type situation whenever it does.
And I will say Carlisle has a pretty good coaching tree like in the league going right now. So like, these like you mentioned Silas, like, these assistant coaches, when they get their opportunity, I have confidence in Carlisle to find, the next hot assistant that's going to get opportunities. So whenever he is ready to hand it off, he will have somebody that came up under Carlisle and not coaching just like Carlisle, but, kind of has some of his tendencies and saw the way Carlisle goes about his business in playoff games. So I think it's important, or it was important, to get the playoff experience for guys like Silas.
No, definitely. And again, it was, I don't know, it was a fun ride, and I like our guys. Again, I'm hoping for them to get their chances, but it looks like we're probably stuck with Rick Carlisle for a while.
Yes.
Now, last thing before we get into a couple questions here, and I think we're doing pretty good on time. So, Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. Let's start with the East since they're already underway. Who do you expect to take it, and how do you expect the series to go?
So I think it's going to be a 7-game series. For one, I think Miami is going to win the series in 7. And the reason I think they're going to win that series is because I feel like they have, when the game's on the line, they have the best player. So obviously the Celtics, they have guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, who's not playing well right now. But when push comes to shove down the stretch, I trust Jimmy Butler more than I trust anybody on the Celtics at this point. Now, I think Tatum will eventually become that guy where you can really trust him down the stretch and in important games. But right now, and with the team, the way Miami's playing, I have them taking it in 7.
Okay. And how'd you feel about game 1? Like, did anything surprise you? Do you expect any dramatic changes from anybody in game 2?
I think the key for the Celtics is finding a way to get Kemba going, because his last 3 games have not been good. And I think that Tyler Hero he's growing up before our eyes. And I just like the overall depth that Miami has. But it's definitely going to be, because Tatum did his thing. Marcus Smart is going bananas right now. So all the talent's there for the Celtics, but they have to get Kemba going if they want to even, draw the series out 2-7.
And I really do think Kemba is going to be a huge key. And then secondarily, I haven't heard anything about Gordon Hayward's status, but I think he could end up, if they think he can come back in this series, I think that could be an interesting wrinkle as well, because it just adds more depth to their team. I think the X factor for me is actually Dragic.
Yeah, and he had a great game last night.
Yeah, he was huge in that game. I think he led them in
29,
scoring.
efficient too, 11 and 19.
just was getting some big timely buckets, which is something that he's done. It's why we want him here.
Yeah, should have been here already, but we won't talk about that either.
Things happen.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to watch Jimmy kind of take a back seat in the scoring during a lot of these playoffs. I feel like he kind of is going to step up when he has to. And that's kind of what he did in the first game.
And I actually called him out. I guess it was Game 5 with Milwaukee, because I'm like, dude, you got to – because Milwaukee jumped off to a 10-point lead. I'm like, Jimmy, you got to step in and be the leader this team needs right now. But, of course, he didn't really do anything that he hasn't been doing this entire playoffs. But, they still found a way to close it out. But, like you said, in crucial moments, Jimmy's going to be Jimmy. And I think you saw that in Game 1.
I think that's been, for me, the most interesting thing about watching the Heat is that, you hear Jimmy Butler, leader of the Heat, and you expect him to be just out there getting buckets on buckets like Kawhi did to us. But I'm watching him. He's actually facilitating, setting other guys up, and just kind of monitoring how things go. And then it's like every now and then he'll be like, all right, now it's my turn, and he'll go and get a bucket. So I'm enjoying watching that. And they've been cruising through these playoffs so far. Game 2 for me is going to determine how long I think this series goes, because the Heat have been very efficient with these series so far. I can see them closing it out in 5 if things don't go great in this next game. Otherwise, 7 feels like the safe guess on this series, just because these teams are so evenly matched.
Yeah, and I think they're both very balanced. Like I mentioned the talent on Boston already, but the Heat have some guys like Bam. Jay Crowder stepped up in a big way right now. You mentioned Dragic, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Yeah, I mean, they just, like I said, they're evenly matched, and they both are a very balanced team. And it could be one of 4 guys on any given night for both.
Exactly. So I think Tatum was – I'm just going to throw some stats out here. Dragic was 11 for 19 for 29 points in Game 1. Tatum was 10 for 24 for 30 points. So Dragic, again, very efficient. All his buckets seemed timely to me. And then Tatum, down the stretch of the game, I felt like he was really pressing, which you're going to do as a young guy in that situation, try to make your moment. And it just didn't work out for him, especially at the very end.
Yeah, Bam told him to get that out of here and don't bring it back.
When Bam met him at the rim, I don't know what Tatum was thinking, but it didn't go well.
And I didn't like his last possession of the regulation either, where he settled for that 3, a deep 3 too, and it came up pretty short. So he'll get.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Yeah. But like you said, he'll grow into and get better in those situations and get exactly what he's looking for. Or at least, I'm sure Boston fans hope he does.
Right. And it kind of reminded me of Donovan Mitchell. He's had those moments as well.
Yep.
In the playoffs. And again, they're both young guys. They have to go through these lumps. So I don't know. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun series either way. And then we kind of already did it, but Lakers Nuggets, what are your expectations?
So I've been picking against the Nuggets. Well, I picked against the Nuggets and against the Clippers. I thought the Clippers were going to handle them easy, but the Clippers just didn't want it. Didn't want it enough, obviously. But this series, it's hard to go against Denver, but it's also at the same time hard to go against LeBron. And I think LeBron's eyes lit up when he saw the Clippers leave the bubble today. So I think the Lakers will win it. But I don't think it's going to be a 5-game series. I think it's going to probably go 6. I'll say Lakers in 6. I don't think it's going to get to a Game 7. But I expect LeBron to have his work cut out for him. I think he's going to have to work a lot harder than he has these first couple of rounds. And I think Jokic is going to continue doing his thing. But I think Denver's going to need another guy or two like Gary Harris or Michael Porter Jr., somebody else, a couple more guys to step up to actually win this series.
And I 100% agree. My heart wants Nuggets in 6 because I don't even want to have to deal with a Game 7. I know what LeBron can do if given the opportunity. And he's not going to just allow them to be beat. You have to actually beat him.
Right.
And we know how the refs operate in those scenarios. So that's my fear, is that they get to a Game 7 situation and LeBron has been in the refs' ears, and they're just not going to let LeBron lose in that situation.
And that's part of it as well. I mean, they're not going to let LeBron make it to the conference finals and then not get to the finals. I don't see that happening.
So and the Nuggets have to know that. Like, when you're in these situations, when you're the underdog against the legend, you can't go in and think that you're going to fight tooth and nail and win a nail biter. No, you got to go in and put your foot down, beat them down, make it a 10, 15-point game. Don't give them the opportunity to steal it from you in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
Make your shots, take advantage of your opportunities, etc. But I agree. I think it's the Michael Porter Jr. series. I think that Murray is going to have his hands full on the perimeter, kind of like Dame did. And I think AD is likely to spend a good amount of time on Jokic. If not, they still have Dwight. They have JaVale. Like, they have bodies they can throw at him. And all of them play differently defensively and can meet him at different levels. And just throwing those different looks at him can kind of determine how they allow him to play.
Yeah, you got the finesse, you got the physicality, you got the shorter. You can put LeBron on him in situations if you need to. So yeah, it's gonna be a series full of different looks being thrown both ways.
And that's where Harris or Porter need to step up. I want to say they got to get like 20, 30 points from those guys. Or even Millsap. We saw he can still get buckets when needed.
Yeah, because I was talking bad about Millsap too, but then he came down and hit 2 threes during that big run they had in Game 7. I was like, okay, look at Millsap. But yeah, he's going to have to keep that up to make sure that the series goes like it's a long series.
So if God came down to you and said, Corey, who do you want in the finals? Which two teams would you pick?
I would say Lakers and Heat. Because I'm tired of seeing Lakers Celtics. And I don't know if I really want to watch the Nuggets versus Heat. I don't think I want to see that just from an entertainment standpoint. And I got to be honest, I have a soft spot for LeBron, kind of. Like, I respect the hell out of him. So yeah.
I'll delete that from the podcast.
But yeah, I like LeBron just overall, just the man he is and just what he stands for. But yeah, I think Lakers and Heat would be the best matchup.
That's how we know LeBron's been around too long, because I almost feel the same way. Like, I hated him for so long, and like now, like you said, he's been around so long, he's grown up. The man he's become, the father he's become, like, you can't not.
He's just a leader in all walks of life, pretty much. Like, when he puts his name to it, it's about business. So I respect that about him.
And I don't even get mad about people saying he's the GOAT anymore. If you want to say he's the GOAT, like, I won't argue with you about it. I don't agree, but at the same time, I can see why you would love and want him to be the GOAT.
And that GOAT conversation is tiring for me, because I feel like it's era based. Like, what era did you grow up with? So if you grew up watching Michael, you're gonna think he's the GOAT. Kobe, same thing. LeBron, same thing. So I don't even entertain those conversations anymore. Like who you like, they're all great players, and you can't go wrong, choosing any of them.
Awesome. Well, that kind of wraps up what I wanted to hit on the question and portion. So we only got a handful of questions from the audience. So if you want to run down these with me, we can definitely do that right now. All right, welcome back to the Bibs Corner podcast. I am still with my guest at the Mr. Douglas with 2 S's. And we got a few questions on the pod that we're going to be running down here real quick. And before we kick that off, let me pull these questions up. Actually, that might help. You know what? You said you had a question for me. Is it a Mavs related question?
It is.
Okay, I'm gonna save yours to like after closer to the
Okay.
end. So the first question, the first question we have comes from, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's Twitter name. Maybe he'll correct me one day. It's BRY Z as in zebra CED. So I'm Bryce. I don't know, but anyway, he asked, "Do you think the Clippers would trade away Pneumonia P?" And then he said he was rolling on the floor laughing.
And that's funny because that question that we're going to get to later actually involves pneumonia pandemic P.
Oh God. Do you want to wait to answer that?
Yeah, I'll wait to answer that.
All right, we'll wait. I'll come back to it. I'll just answer the Clippers' perspective right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Kawhi walks in that office and says, "Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Get him out of here." Then I think PG's gone. And Doc, there's some history there, so I don't think Doc is gonna complain too much.
And what I find interesting about that is there was a report that came out during that Mavs series that Kawhi's first option wasn't even PG. It was Jimmy Butler, actually. He called him, and then he called Kevin Durant before he got down the list to PG. So, like you said, I think after this, especially after this postseason run, I think Kawhi could easily go in there and be like, "Hey, I can't do this. Find me somebody else."
Oh man, that's some cold-blooded stuff. But I mean, Kawhi has surprised us before, so oh man, that would be crazy. Okay, so let's move on. We got another Clipper-related question. I don't know why we got to do these Clippers like this, but
Let's get them out of here. They need this.
a guy who has asked a question on every single pod, MFFL 7741, said, "Why did Kawhi play so much better against us than the Nuggets? Was it our poor defense or something else?"
I have to say, poor defense. I think we allowed him to get exactly where he wanted to go too consistently, and we didn't send double teams at him really. And when we did, it was easy for him to pass out to open shooters. And I think that's why you saw Marcus Morris shoot 55% from three or whatever it was in that series. And you saw Reggie Jackson getting loose on us. So I think it had everything to do with defense.
And I agree 100%. Jeremy Grant is like a combination of DFS and Maxey with his size and length and speed. And I think he did a great job on the one-on-one front, but then the Nuggets team defense was just so much better than ours. The rotations were quicker and harder. They trusted each other. And I mean, Kawhi didn't have those perfect wide open looks. He was rushing shots. I saw he's putting up everything short because he wasn't getting a lot of lift. Like it was clearly he was bothered during that series, and he was not bothered in our series. Like he was just so we made it look so
And it's
easy.
difficult. It's more difficult to score when you have 6 to 10 eyes on you at all times, everywhere you go on the court, and then you're meeting two or three different bodies once you get near the paint. So
Right,
yeah, that's
and that
definitely a factor.
Kenny brought that up too about how we never doubled, and he was getting a lot of one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of is like our team is set up in a double-edged way. We want to space the floor for ourselves on offense, but when you play those type of players, that makes the defense easy for them to spread us out as well, because we don't have those guys that are wanting to crash in and help and things like that. Or when they do it the most stupid ways possible and leave somebody wide
And we
open.
just don't have the physicality that some of these other teams have to even match up with a guy like Kawhi. Because I mean, you put Finney Smith on, and he's taking him right down to the block. You bring Justin Jackson
Mm-hmm.
off the bench, he's going straight down to the block on him. Kleba, he's going to get to his spot on him. As great as a defender Kleba is, he had no medicine for Kawhi, and
Right.
it just, like I said, the physicality I think is a huge difference with players like that. You have to make them feel you.
Exactly. And we just don't have that guy at this time. All right. So the next one is actually let's see. All right. I'm gonna go this one and then we're gonna do your question. So this one comes from Caden117. He said, "What does KP have to do to make an all NBA team?"
This is a perfect segue. This is lining up perfectly for my question. So what KP has to do, number one, is stay healthy. He's going to have to
True.
play, upwards of 60 to 75 games, somewhere in that realm. and he has to probably, I would say, I give him about 24 to 25 points a game, while shooting a good percentage and making sure he's consistently rebounding.
Right.
But like I said, to start off with, it has to be health. You have to be healthy. You have to be out there on the court, and you have to put up numbers when you're out there. And then, of course, making the All-Star team never hurts in those conversations, and then winning never
Right.
hurts in those conversations.
Yep. And so for me, I think the winning is the biggest key. I trust him to get the points, especially after how he performed in the bubble. So obviously, health number one. Number two is going to be then the winning. So if he's healthy, I expect him to be, like you said, 25, 26, with 8 rebounds. Um, I expect him to make an all-star team as well if we are definitely in that top 4 realm of the Western
Right.
Conference. I don't think you get 2 all NBA guys if you're not in that top 4. I'm trying to think. The Lakers did it, and the Heat did it, right? Those are the only two. Oh,
Yeah,
not
the
the Heat, Rockets.
Rockets, yeah.
Like I just saw red and said Heat. But yeah, so those teams again, you got 2 established guys who are all stars, and you're a winning team. That's how you get 2 all NBA guys. And so, with that said,
And this,
hit me. What do
all
you
right,
got?
so this sets the stage perfectly. So I was listening to the radio earlier today, and the guy floated out this idea. If you were presented with this trade offer, would you do it? So say Kawhi goes into the Clippers and he's like, hey, man, get this dude out of here. I can't play with him anymore. And the Clippers come, hey, we'll take KP off your hands. Would you do a PG for KP swap?
No.
Okay.
While I don't trust KP's health at this point, not because he re-injured the same leg or anything, but just because of his physical makeup, and I'm always fearful of something happening to his legs. I also can't trust PG to show up when it matters, even as a number 2, like we saw in LA. So if we're gonna get another guy, or if we're gonna get somebody else, if we're gonna trade KP, I need it to be a guy that I trust. I'm fine with bringing in a guy like PG with KP because maybe we can get half production from both of them to be a number 2, or we can get one to show up if the other one doesn't or isn't available. But I can't swap them in and out. I'd rather stick with the devil I know.
Yeah. And the only reason I even brought that up, because my answer is no as well. I wouldn't do that either. And the only
Okay.
reason I brought that up is because KP's injuries, definitely his knees worry me. But I think if you're going to make any type of moves like that, I want KP to be here. I just want to move him down a slot to the number 3 option instead of number 2 option. I don't want to trade a number 2 for a number 2. And I definitely don't want Paul
Exactly.
George being that 2 on the Mavs, just with his whole mentality, excuse making. I can't deal with that on a consistent basis when in a big games, he has an excuse in the back of his head that he's going to come pull out, at any given moment. So I too
Right.
wouldn't do that, but I definitely, my goal, hopefully over the next couple of seasons for the Mavs, is I want them to get a number 2 option to slide KP down to the 3. So that way, if you want to manage his or load manage him, you still have 2 dogs out there, with Luka and whoever you can get. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I'm not with the 2 for 2 swap. I need the Mavs just to add a piece straight up and slide KP down to the 3.
Exactly. And that's exactly what my goal is for this off season or next off season, is to get a 2A 2B behind Luka, or a clear 2-3 situation. He needs help, and if it's not going to be somebody that can carry the team, I need at least a good Robin.
And that leads me to another question just real quick before we wrap this up. But do you have a dream guy out there that you want the Mavs to target or think the Mavs have a chance of getting?
I can't really say a dream guy. Well, I'll say it might be a dream guy. I like my top two are Drew Holiday and Victor Oladipo.
Mm.
I don't think either one is a one, but I think they can both be a strong two in a playoff scenario. When a game gets tight, like I can trust Drew to be able to take somebody off the bounce and get to the free throw line. I can trust Drew to clamp up Jamal Murray in a clutch situation. Like you don't have to take him off the court. And then if he has the ball in his hands, like he'll find KP on a drive or a lob, or he'll find Luka in his spot for a three. Like Drew Holiday is my dream guy, if I had to say, because he gets it done on both ends, and I like who he is as a person and as a player.
Yeah, I definitely like Drew as the ideal fit. You basically touched on all the points that would make him great here. And I think the number one point for me is defensively. I think he's widely known as the best defensive guard in the league, and having him on
Not according to the journals.
exactly, which is crazy. Shows how much they don't know sometimes. But I think he would be perfect. But then instead of Oladipo as my number two option, I think I want Bradley Beal. I'm not sure how realistic that is at this point, but that's a
Okay.
guy that I would just want to go get you 30 or 40 on any given night and really take some of the onus
Okay.
off of Luka.
It's really hard for me to dream. So I try to stick with what I think might be able to happen. But yeah, if you told me Bradley Beal was available, give me that all day. Number one.
Yeah, and I just can't get on the Oladipo train. It's just I feel like we would be dealing with another KP at any given moment. He would just go down, and then
And
we would still be stuck with Luka and a bunch of guys. So
that's why I want both.
okay, well yeah,
So if
yeah,
one goes down, I still got the other
that's a
one.
four-headed
Like
monster
the
there.
chances of both going down. What were you saying? I'm sorry, I feel like I
Oh
cut
no,
you
you're
off.
good. I was just saying you get both Drew and Oladipo in here. Then we're talking championships. So I'm okay with.
Oh no, I meant Oladipo and KP.
Oh,
Like if you have
okay. So you're banking
if you
on
have
them
both
both
of
right
them,
there.
like
Okay, I got you. Okay, I misunderstood that.
exactly. Like I feel like we only need one of them there at the end of the day, type of situation.
Okay, okay, I can get down with that.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you with one last one. This should be pretty quick. Rye Mikhail, who was also a consistent question person, said he knows his answers, but if the Mavs had Prime Dirk next season, and you can choose what you think Prime Dirk is, would he or Luka be the Mavs' best player?
Man, that's a great question. I would go. I I gotta say Luca. I gotta say Luca.
I agree.
Just his playmaking ability on offense. He's gonna get everybody involved, and he's gonna make the game so much easier for Dirk. But I think the ball is always gonna
Right.
be in his hands in a guard dominant league. So I would have to say
Yep.
Luca would be the best.
I say the same thing, and for the same reason. And when you really look at it, Dirk kind of took off when he no longer had like a dominant point guard
Right.
um, with him, and it was just him. And I think that's kind of he thrived in that role. I think that he would easily defer to Luka if Luka came. Like he wasn't a guy that felt like he needed to go out and chase buckets. So he would be glad to compliment Luka in that situation, I think.
Yeah, I mean that would be a nasty duo, man. That would be man.
It's fun to
Only
dream.
if
It's fun to dream. I'm so sure somebody will do like those people that do the historical matchups and stuff. What if Dirk and Luka played together? Like do
yeah,
some digital
those
stuff.
those think pieces type of
Oh man, that would be fun. But that's really it. I kept you longer than I planned to. So I do appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you staying on to answer these questions with me. There was some pretty good questions. And
it made me think a little
is there
bit.
anything you need to add?
No, I was just gonna say, man, thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. We'll definitely have to do it again sometime. Maybe once the off season gets kicked off, or whenever we know when the schedule is going to be made, or whatever, when the season's going to start.
Right.
But no, I definitely enjoyed it, and I appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. Again, I appreciate you coming on. This has been episode 36 of the Bibbs Corner podcast. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.